everyone, it's Julia. I have today easy notebook cover. These are wonderful Christmas gifts, and they're really, like I said, they're quick and easy. I have these beautiful fabric bird panels that were sent to me, and I'm going to use those as the focal point for the front of the little notebook covers. The notebooks I'm using, I'll link down below for you. I buy these in bulk, and they are like an A5 size. They're 5.5 wide, and the height is a little over 8 inches. I have a piece of foam, and this foam that I'm using has adhesive on one side. And I am just measuring out the piece that I need. I like my foam to be cut 3/8 of an inch bigger than the little notebook. So whatever size notebook you use, you just make sure that the foam is about 3/8 of an inch bigger all the way around. And then I'm just going to cut this piece out. I found this piece of fabric at the thrift store, and it's going to make a wonderful background print for, it's non-directional, but just has a bunch of phrases and letters and different things on it. And it's a little bit heavier than like a quilting cotton. It's more of a decorator print. And I'm laying my foam so that the adhesive is down on it. And I want to measure this off. I leave a 1/2 inch on the top and the bottom, and then approximately 5 or 6 inches on each side for the flaps. And like I said, I'm going to leave all my dimensions down below for you on what I cut. But it's going to vary as far as what size book you use. I just flip that over, and I'm going to press it from the top side or the fabric side, and this is going to activate that adhesive on the foam. Folding over the edges on the flap, and I just folded those over twice, and I'll take this to my sewing machine, and I'm just going to straight stitch this just so that these flaps are finished off. That part is done. I'm folding the flaps in. I just want to make sure I get my little bird design centered on the front of the cover. And then I also found this fabric at the thrift store, and I fussy cut this flower design out. Now every time I look for fabric at like a garage sale or thrift store, I love looking for these these decorator prints that have these big flowers on, just for this. I love adding them to backgrounds as like a focal point, or just to add underneath, like this one is underneath the focal point. It has a little bit of that salmon or rose color in the bird as well as the flower, which I really like. Taking out my trusty glue stick here, and I'm just going to glue stick this or tack this down. You want to make sure your glue is dry before you take it to the sewing machine, and usually I'm just too impatient, so I'm going to press this, and that's going to dry that glue. And to my sewing machine, and I've decided I'm going to use black thread for this. Then I'm going to just do some doodling. There's a lot of black in the numbers, or the letters in the text of the background that I'm using. So that's what I thought I'm going to use. A lot of times I'll just use a brown or a dark gray, but this time I went with the full-on black, and I'm just meander stitching some of the details in this. In the flowers, and then also doing the leaves, doing just the leaves. I'm just doing some of the details, and I'm also edge finishing or edge stitching around the applique as well. And I'm going right through the foam, and it's really giving it a cool quilted cushy look to it. It's really, I love how this quilting or just stitching through foam looks. And you can see I'm just adding some of the veins on the leaves. I laid the bird print on the top now, and I'm still just free motioning around this. And I know I'm not going to get too straight, and so I'm not trying. I'm doing a wavy stitch and then doing a little doodle in each of the corner. And I am going to go a second time around this, and I am not going to try to get on the line. I'm just going off of it. And it gives a really kind of a cool intertwined looking stitch. And instead of going around the birds, I'm going to go around the tree. I have this bunch of phrases and sayings that have been, I think the fabric has been just hand dyed and then run through a printer, just a computer printer. And I'm using a little phrase that says, "Let me tell you a story." I thought that would be cute for a journal cover. And I just stitched around that, similar to how I stitched around the birds. Now I have the lining piece. Now the lining piece is cut the same height and width as your booklet, with the flaps folded in. And again, I'll leave it down below. I think mine was approximately 10 by 12. And I flipped it over, so I'm working with the foam up, and I'm pinning that way. And I'm also going to take this to the sewing machine and stitch with the foam up. And I'm only going to stitch the top and the bottom. I'm not stitching the sides at all. So that I'm stitching that lining right to my book cover, and my right sides are together, and I'm stitching alongside that foam, but I'm not stitching through the foam, and I'm giving it a little bit of a wiggle room, so I'm stitching approximately 1/8 of an inch away from the foam. I'm using my zipper foot for this. It's just a little bit easier. Kind of gives me a guide. So now my lining is attached, and I'm just going to trim some of the excess fabric off of the top and the bottom. Now remember, we did not do the sides at all, so I'm just turning this and then flipping those flaps over. And your little book cover is pretty much complete at this point. I am going to give this a good press, making sure that my corners are poked out. And then I'm going to top stitch this, but I'm just going to top stitch it on the top and the bottom. I'm not going to do it on the sides at all. I added a little belt loop, just like a loop right on the spine, and I just used fabric from the background, and I'm poking silk or just a ribbon through that. I like using those little belt loops, or it looks like a little loop on the spine. It just kind of keeps that ribbon in place. And now to fill the book, I'm taking two of these little notebooks, one on each side, and just putting it under the flap. And then I created just an easy handmade junk journal for the center of this. And that is also going to get tied on with some ribbon. So you have two little notebooks on the side that are purchased, and then a handmade little notebook in the center. It just adds a really full book and just real easy. Like I said, great gift. I hope you enjoyed this. I have some pictures at the end of other ones I made, and these are listed in my Etsy store, and I'll link that list down below for you as well. I hope you all have a chance to create this week. Bye for now.